breaking generational patterns, shifting the way we think, and moving from our toxic masculinity into our divine femininity. I am Pratna, and you're listening to Rebel with a Purpose. In today's episode, I've invited Shivangi, who is a dear friend of mine from Delhi, and she's also a love mentor as well as a feminine embodiment coach. Let's get right into it. Hi, Shivangi, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good, and I'm so honored to have you on my podcast. I can't believe we haven't done
Yay.
this before, but high time, and I'm so glad you're here.
Yes, yes. I think we've done another podcast recording that we did for mine. I think that's the reason.
Oh, yeah, I feel like I had a memory and I was like, am I dreaming? But okay, great. Amazing. Okay, to start off, tell our listeners a little bit about what you do and your story and what brought you here.
Hmm. Okay, so I'll start with my story. So I
Mm-hmm.
did my architecture and I was working as a designer for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
I had no plans to be a coach, honestly. Like that was never in my journey. But I was going through a lot of pain. I was going through a lot of trauma. I went through like years of panic attack. Like for 2 years, I used to have panic attacks literally every day. And then yeah, I was just like, I think there was a point when I broke up a relationship, which was like a 8.5 year long relationship. That was when I realized that, dude, like this cannot be my life. It felt like something like I deserve to have a life which is just not this. Like it felt so daunting. It felt so overpowering. I felt like the victim of my story. So I was just like, this cannot be my life. And I was very desperate to change my story. Like that's how everything began for me. And I was just like, this has to change. So I started with clinical therapy and I did that for 3 months. I was getting a lot of awareness, but it wasn't really taking me where I wanted to be. But because it was like, okay, I'm getting awareness about my triggers, about myself, my patterns, and all that. But I don't know what to do with it. Like nothing was changing. Like my story wasn't changing. I wasn't feeling empowered, honestly. It's not like that I wanted everything to change in a day, but I didn't even feel empowered in enough to say that, okay, this would really lead me to change my life. So I was like, okay, then I was very desperate. I worked with a numerologist. I was like, I didn't even believe in spirituality at all at that point. Like, I was this kid who was not religious. I was just like, I would just believe that there's some higher power, but I didn't believe in anything like astrology, numerology. I was not connected to energy work, nothing. All I did was like 15 minutes guided meditations in my day, just for the peace of my mind before that. And I still went to like a numerologist, and I got freaked out by it because she was telling me things about my life. And I was like, how do you know this? And I was like really freaked out by that. But she gave me this one practice which was vision boarding. Like she was like, every day in the morning, write as if you've already had it like a year from now. So put the date as like the date 1 year from now, and just write what your life would look like. And I had never done anything like that. And I did that practice for almost like 4 months every morning. Like every morning I would write, like I'm writing a diary entry from a year from now. And that started changing a lot of things in my life because I was writing that, I'm not feeling this pain. And then slowly, like, coaches started coming in my life out of nowhere. And then I went to coaches to heal myself. I invested in myself because I was just like, this has to change. So I was saving all my money. All the money that I was earning was going into coaching, was going into investing into people. I was literally spending every penny. I was taking even loans for that, I'm going to pay you after like I get my salary. Can you pay for me? I was like borrowing money. I was just doing it because I was like, my story has to change. Like I was so desperate about my story
Mm-hmm.
changing. And that's how I think I became a coach, because once my story started changing, I was like, oh my God, I want to share this with more women. I want women to know that if this, like, I say this in my Instagram also a lot, that, I used to read this line that, if I can do it, you can too. And I never really knew what this meant. And now I'm like, oh my God, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I have been that girl. And I'm like, oh my God, if this can change for me, I know it can change for anyone and everyone.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such an inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Firstly, scripting, like what you did every single day, that is so powerful because I remember I there was a point where I used to do a lot of that and I know how I used to feel in my body. Like there's so many tools, there's so many techniques to like really like tap into that vibration of your higher
Yeah.
version, right? And get you out of the pain that you're in presently. Can you share with us like maybe one or two most like tools that really like scream to you or like stick out to you in terms of what has really helped you in your healing journey to get out of your
Yeah.
pain and feel more empowered? Like, what have you used that has helped you?
Yeah, I think I'm a very feeling centric person. So while I was doing the scripting and she did not tell me to like feel it or anything, but as I started going on the journey,
Yeah.
while I was scripting, dude, like I would smile, I would feel it in my body. So this
Yep.
is something like I think that's when I realized that body work is so important. And I started doing meditations for it. So two tools I think that I would say is one, like visualization and meditations where I'm not just like scripting my life, but I'm really imagining it, visualizing it, and being in the energy of it. Where so I do like super detailed visualizations for myself and my clients also, where I would go into details of what you're wearing, how your hair are looking, what's the texture beneath your feet. So like really making it sensory, even though it's just a meditation, but it's very sensory so that you can feel it in your body while you're listening to the guided meditation. So I think senses, like working with my senses through guided meditations, that's one. And the second one is a lot of body work, because afterwards, because I told you I was going through a lot of panic attacks and these things, what really helped me was to work with my body. So I started, like, obviously I started very basic. I saw this video where someone was like, if you're really angry, do shaking. Like that was the first practice that I ever started with. And I realized that it started helping me because, I used to feel this anger where, and I've had this journey of self harm in the beginning of my journey. Like when I was going through those panic attacks, I would also do a little bit of self harm. Like I would like punch on the wall and like really harm myself in ways. So because of that, I had a better way to channel that rage that was building in my energy, to channel that hurt, because a lot of rage and like it was basically hurt disguised as rage for me. So yeah, body work, somatics. So I would say like somatics and visualization, these two tools.
Okay, awesome. And what would you say is the story that you let go of? There could be multiple stories that you've let go of
Yeah.
or limiting beliefs that you worked on. Can you give us a few examples of how did you change? Like, how did you step into your power, and what were the old patterns that you had to let go of to really like step into this place of power?
Yeah, I think the first story that I really let go of was understanding how it was like my biggest limiting belief was I really, really felt like the victim in the story of my life, because I felt very helpless. I felt like, I had no power. So I think really changing that story, that I have accountability for my life and I am responsible. Whatever has happened, but it's my responsibility from here on. Just changing that I am responsible for my life rather than I am a helpless person who has no power to do anything. Like, taking accountability for my life
Mm-hmm.
was one thing that really changed everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was that, I think it was genuinely about healing. Like I think I've spoken to you about this a lot. That the other story that I had to change, because when I started my journey, it was like, oh, healing is about feeling less pain, feeling less rage, like having less trauma. And there was this vision in my head that I'm gonna heal one day and I'm gonna become this healed version of Shivangi. Then I'm gonna get in relationships. So I think changing that you're never gonna be like healed because you're completely healed right now. The only thing, healing is not about getting rid of pain, but healing is about expanding your capacity for feeling joy, your capacity for growth, your capacity, like even if you're in the midst of chaos, you can be living your best life. Because right now I'm genuinely in the midst of chaos while my, like, while planning my wedding and all of these things. I do feel I'm in chaos, but I'm still living my best life. So I think that story, that whatever's happening in your life, you can still be living your best life.
Yeah, can you share more about like how do you find that pleasure in the midst of chaos, or how do you find joy in the midst of chaos? How do you do it?
Yeah, I think this was just like this one line I read in some book. I don't know who wrote this line or where is it coming from, but I'd read it somewhere, which was that happiness is not a feeling, it's a mindset. And I think that really strung a chord in my heart, because I was like, no matter what's happening, being happy is what I choose. Being happy is not a circumstantial thing. It's not what's happening to me, it's what I'm creating. So I think when I changed that, so even if I'm in the midst of chaos, I really just drop back into my body and I would really like do gratitude practices, and I would just like, be like, okay, what can I be really happy about in this moment? So for example, right now, if I show you my room, like my room looks like a huge mess, but I'm genuinely happy that I have this space to even just talk to you and have like a clean background. So I started really appreciating the little things in my life that brought happiness to me. And I think just connecting with my body is where my pleasure lies, because the more I move, after I've moved and I've released that rage, I think I became less obsessed with feeling positive all the time. That has been like the game changer. So people think pleasure comes from feeling ecstatic and happy all the time, but I have left that obsession, and I'm like, you know what, this pain is pleasure. Like, I can be in the pain and it's okay. So I'm not like always trying to chase happiness anymore. It's like I'm happy that I have the capacity to sit with this pain, and without even trying, that helps me transmute it into pleasure, because I'm like, you know what, I can connect with my body, I can touch my body, I can really move my hips, I can move my pelvic floor, I can just be in the like being in the body, I think is really how you connect with your pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, I love that you say that. And while you were talking, like I had this visual that it's more of like you accepting rather than going on resisting and fighting and going against the current. It's like
Yeah.
you have found a way to flow with the water and also
Yes.
accept and just be with whatever's happening and sit with
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
process it rather than like going on fighting it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I love that you said that. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, but I think a very big part of all this, like, would be my faith, because
Yeah.
even though I didn't begin my journey as a spiritual girly, but I think now, even in my like Instagram content, I talk about God so much, because I truly like I don't know like what I don't know how to define God. I don't know what God is, but for me, God is just, like this energy that's always giving me good opportunities no matter what my life looks like. I just like have this faith that I am taken care of. I truly believe that everything that's happening is going to lead me to something much more expansive, much more bigger. I think just this mindset that I have, like my faith in this, that I'm taken care of, and I'm going to be fine, life's going to be fine, and it's going to only expand from here. That also really helps me, be in the body.
Yeah, yeah. Faith is huge. That helps you be in your divine feminine, right? And
Yeah.
so, okay, what strengthened your faith in God or the higher power or universe? Because I know you started this podcast saying that you weren't spiritual, you weren't religious, and now you speak about God a lot on Instagram. What made that shift for you?
I think just this journey, because where my life was, and today, even though, there's so much that I can write on paper and be like, I want this to happen in my life, and it's not here right now. But where I was, I cannot believe I could be where I am right now. So I think just the fact that I am here, like in this moment, living this life the way I'm living it, even though there's like so many missing pieces and so many missing things that I desire for, and I feel that when is it, I am in that waiting, and sometimes I feel like when is it going to happen, I really really desperately desire it. But at the same time, I have this acceptance that the life that I'm living today, I could not have imagined living this life even in my wildest dreams. Like, just the fact that there was some power that got me here makes me believe that there's some power that's going to get me where I want to be, and something
Yeah.
bigger than that.
Yeah. So this again, like a really common question comes up in my mind when you say this, which is that when you started doing the scripting or when you started like visualizing this life that you're living now, or even close,
Yeah.
maybe not even close to it, but like, visualizing a better life, right? Did
Yeah.
you believe that you could live a better life? And is that belief required to kind of manifest things in your life? Because at that point of time, maybe you didn't have enough evidence of life
Yeah.
being better when you were in your pain, right? So
Yeah.
without the evidence, how did you have the faith or continue being consistent with your scripting? when there was
Yeah.
confidence?
I think I didn't have faith back then for sure because obviously like I was really even the person who gave these practices to me, I told you, like, I freaked out after that session with this numerologist because I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? Like, it was completely something that I'd never experienced. So I was like, I don't know what just happened. I didn't resonate with a lot of things. Like, she told me to do the scripting with the numbers 369. So, you know, how she told me to do this was get up in the morning before leaving your bed, write it 3 times. Then in the afternoon, sit and write it 6 times. And before you sleep, write it 9 times because the number 369 is going to make it very powerful for you. And I was just like, I don't believe in this bullshit. What is 369? But somehow there was just joy in that practice. I think that's what I would tell people, that any practice that you want to stick to, I think I was sticking to that practice because every day that when I was doing it, just the experience of doing this practice was very joyful for me. It was like, oh my God, okay, you know, I'm doing something for myself. I am trying to believe that there can be something better in my life. When I was writing it, I would just, you know, just imagining that this could be one of the possibilities. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but this is one of the possibilities of my life brought me joy. And that's why I think I continued.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you said that because, like, even with your affirmations, sometimes you say, for example, I'm a millionaire. And what if there's a lot of dissonance in your body when you're saying I'm a millionaire, but your body doesn't believe that or doesn't have the capacity for it right now, and you say I'm a millionaire, it causes dissonance, right, and dysregulation then. But saying I'm willing to believe that I'm a millionaire or I'm willing to believe I can be a millionaire, the willing to believe or I choose to believe
Yeah.
or I'm open to believing. Like when you start off with that, it makes it so much easier for your mind to or your body to accept what you're saying. So I love that you
Yeah.
said that because like even though you didn't have complete faith, it was one of the possibilities, and you were just
Yeah.
trying to believe that that could be one of
Yeah.
the possibilities.
Also, I don't think I was thinking so much in the quantum jump kind of a way because I didn't. A lot of people, what they try to do is they try to take affirmations from other people. You know, like for example, you are at a place where you're, even if you have some disassociation, but you still have some connection with the affirmation that I am a millionaire. So you can say it because, you know, somewhere a little part of you believes that this could be a possibility of your life. But if I tell this to someone who has like only 100 rupees in their pocket, that I am a millionaire, they might feel too much disassociation with this, and they might feel that, you know, there's not even 1% part of their body or their mind that believes that, you know, they can be a millionaire. So I feel people try to steal affirmations from other people, which is okay if it resonates, like take it. But I feel you have to always, like, this is a practice again, which I did, that I would modify affirmations according to what I needed. So at that time, my scripting included things like, you know, I have clear skin, I have good hair, I'm making better money that I'm making today, that I'm not scared of spending on these therapies and these things because that's where I was investing my money, that I'm not scared to spend money in these places, that I am ready. Like, because that time I had gone through like such a hard breakup, right? I was so like heartbroken. So I was like, I wasn't writing that I'm in a relationship. What I was writing was that I feel ready to be in a relationship, because that is something that somehow my brain was willing to believe, that I can be ready to be in my next relationship. I think I wasn't at a place where I could be like, oh, I can be in my next relationship. So I think that's, I would tell people, if they have to ever like do scripting or they have to do affirmations, make it something that even like you can believe that this can be one of the possibilities, no matter how small the belief. But if there's like some thread in your brain, in your heart, which believes that this can truly be one of the possibilities of my life, then if you keep repeating it, then slowly it will become the new possibility that you believe more strongly in. But if you don't believe in it at all, then it's going to be, you're going to just stop doing it, because after like a week you'll be like, you know, this is bullshit, I don't think this is working, and you will not do it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's such a practical tip that you put out there, and I think that's going to be so beneficial. And again, going back to like we were speaking of manifestation and surrendering, so the divine femininity. From what I know about you, we both have been in a place of me more recently of toxic masculinity. So how
Yeah.
did you really like kind of get out of that belief? Because a lot of Indians or a lot of Asians, right, they've grown up in such an environment where you're told that hard work is equal to success, and you're told to always constantly hustle, and you're told
Mm.
to like hustle till, to burn yourself out literally, and then hustle now so you can relax later, and all these things that we've
Yeah.
grown up with, all these beliefs. How did you work on that to release them and then step into your divine feminine and be the
Yeah.
person you are today?
Yeah, I think the first one was like, first, there was a lot of resistance because initially, like the startup that I used to have before becoming a coach, that was like a very hustling startup because I would like literally go at 7 in the morning and I would be there till 2 in the night working with like, daily wagers to get a lot of packaging work done because it was like a production house where I was giving my designs and getting like mass production of my products done. So it was really like hectic on the body. I had to shout on people. There were like really
Mm-hmm.
very very tight timelines that tomorrow we have to deliver it, otherwise our money is going to get cut. So I'm just like working very hard to make it happen. And and while I was in that, I think the biggest thing that changed everything for me was that at the same time I was going through a very tough time in my life. I realized that I don't even have time to sit with myself and feel pain and cry because, I was just hustling so much. And that's when I think this shift really happened where I was like, okay, like, I don't know, like, can I be this person for all my life? And
Mm-hmm.
from there, I think the first step is accepting that, are you playing? A lot of women, because we've gone through suppression, a lot of women think that they can be more powerful, they can be more independent by being a man in the man's world. So in their offices they want to work as hard as the man, they want to work the same hours as the man does. And I think we've been raised like that. But like just taking a step back and being like, what, is there a way to be successful without burning yourself out? Is there a way? It's just like, I think, curiosity. Anybody, this journey will begin for you if you just have that curiosity that,
Mm-hmm.
can there be a way where I don't have to work against my body, where I don't have to work against my desires to be successful, to be safe, to be secure, and to be expansive? Because that's what women are actually desiring. They want to have financial stability. They want to have a voice, and somehow they feel that being independent financially is going to do all of that for them. So that's the reason that they're even in the hustle rut, and they're even in the toxic masculinity, because they feel that only toxic masculinity can get them there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have to work with people who are the evidence of it. You'll That's how I think all the coaches that I've ever worked with, I have never gone through their curriculums. I have never ever gone through their full landing pages. I have never read what is going to be their weekly plan. I have never done that. Like, not even when I was investing like 5 lakh rupees or 10, like, never, like, not for big money, not for small money, because I didn't care for that. All I cared for, that this person is living a life that I desire to live. I just want to know, is this even true? I just want to know, if it's true, how can this be the reality? And that's how I invested in people. So I think that's been my approach. And of course, this is not everybody's approach, but yeah, that's been my approach. And that's why I think I still keep investing in people to expand myself, because the more I see evidence of someone doing it, the more I feel, okay, this, because like now that's become the line of my life. If they can, why can't I?
Yeah.
That's the question I ask.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so beautiful because, yeah, investing in coaches has been super life transformational for me too. So I get where you're coming from, and you can always help yourself and work through it because, when you started talking to me about how you like kind of got out of it by being curious and asking yourself, and I was like, oh my God, like you literally like did it, like you took the first step on your own, and then
Yeah.
you invested to kind of enhance that. So even
Yeah.
for me, where I'm sure like this year was my year where I kind of slipped out of toxic masculinity much more than I have in like couple of my past years. Like this was like a
Yeah.
good quantum leap for me, and then
Yeah.
go into my divine femininity. And I think for me, one of the biggest limiting belief was that the harder I work, the more valuable I am to the world, or the more
Yeah.
impact I can make. So it was kind of related to my worth, the harder
Yeah.
I work.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, like, have you ever dealt with something like that in terms of
Yeah.
productivity and hard work, attaching it to your worth as a human being? And then how do you go into finding value in yourself, independent of your externalities or independent of how many hours you put in and how hard you work?
Yeah, of course I've been there. Like I was that person. In fact, I was in the rut of toxic masculinity to the extent where I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but I was this kid who grew up, I would hate if someone would consider me like a girly girl. So anything that was like any symbolism that was associated with women and being feminine, I had like such a resistance to them. I hated the colors pink and yellow. Like I think up until like college, I didn't wear yellows and pinks at all because I was like, that is gonna make me like a girly girl, and I don't want to be a girly girl. I
Yeah,
would, I would, never put makeup and I would do all those things because I didn't want to be associated with being feminine because that somehow felt very weak to me. I wanted to be like that strong women, and I'm like men. I don't get into that loop of, working on makeup. I have better things to do in life was my mindset before. So of course I've been like in the rut of toxic masculinity, like extreme toxic
yeah,
masculinity. And I think what really changed for me was getting honest with myself because like when you do a lot of, I think it was a lot of journaling that helped me. One of the prompts that I think really changed everything for me was that if I could be extremely successful, this is something that a lot of like money people would say that if I can have all the money in the world, I can have my voice, I can have power, I can have all these things that I desired by being this man that I'm trying to be. If I had everything, then what would I do? If I had it all, then how would I live? And I think and then, of course, it's been a journey. Like every time I rested, of course, I felt guilty because we are hardwired to feel that rest is unproductive. So every time I would go and rest, I felt very guilty. And I have to be honest here, when I started this journey and I started exploring feminine energy, I started exploring what's, living a slow life really means. I think I got on the other extreme for a while because, I had been in the toxic masculinity for so long that I started rejecting masculinity altogether. Like I had a resistance. I think I shared this with you. I had a resistance for structure. I had a resistance for routines. I didn't want any of that in my life because somehow everything that the masculine energy brings, I was like, oh my God, this has spoiled my life. And this is the reason that I'm in so much pain. That was my story. And then I went completely towards that, I'm going to rest, I'm going to do this, I'm going to allow, and I started living in sync with my body. And for a while it was amazing, but then slowly I started realizing that I would promise a lot of things to myself and I would not make them happen. And then I started building distrust in my body. That's when I realized that it's not just about feminine energy, it's actually the masculine really supports the feminine.
yeah,
And yeah, that's been my journey. So I think I went to the other extreme where I was just like, I was like, because I've been a rebellious kid. So I became like a complete opposite rebel. I was like, you know what? I'm going to live a soft life. Like, fuck everyone. I'm going to live a soft life. Fuck everyone. I'm going to rest. Fuck everyone. I'm not going to work on my period. So I became very rebellious about it that I'm going to live in my feminine energy of whatever I understood feminine energy to be back then.
yeah.
And that after 6 months it hit me and I'm like, oh my God, okay, this is not working. Like I'm not feeling expansive anymore in this. Initially I was really enjoying it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Okay. So many golden nuggets there. Um, yeah, because just listening to you, I've realized there's so many myths about the feminine energy also. Like,
Yeah.
um, I want to rest on a Sunday, for example, or on the weekends, right? Like, but what if you have this inspired action and you feel called to work on a Sunday? So what? Rest on a Monday. And a lot of times I actually do work on a Sunday and rest on a Monday. Like, that's just how it happens. I don't know, it's
Yeah.
just been a little bit of a pattern, not intentionally, but yeah, my boyfriend always says, like, why are you working? It's a Sunday, you need to rest. But it's not about resting on the weekend. It's allowing your body to rest when it really needs the rest, and
Yeah.
allowing yourself to work when you feel inspired and feel called and creative to work. And I feel like
Yeah.
there's a reason you're feeling called or creative in that moment. So make you take full leverage of it and use it and work.
Yeah.
And I really agree with that because I am a projector human design, and I have undefined root. And undefined root means that I burn out very easily, right? I don't have that constant source of energy, so I can burn out very easily. So I realized that my entire life I have pushed myself so much when I am a projector with an undefined route, which means that I have burnt out so many times in my life from my experience, and I still pushed myself because I was in that toxic masculinity route. And now I'm realizing that I actually don't feel inspired to work all day long. Like I don't
Mm,
feel called to work all day long. There are times where I feel brain fog in middle of watching a video. Suddenly my brain's fogging up and my body's asking, okay, stop the video, rest now, go for a walk. My body asks for it automatically because I have been so prone to burnout in the past. And
yeah.
now it's like more, I'm getting into that phase where I'm honoring my body no matter what time of the day it is, no matter what day it is. If it's a Monday morning, I don't care. If my body
Mm,
demands rest, I am honoring it, giving it, even if it's a 10-minute walk, even if it's talking to a friend on call, even if it's watching Netflix for a while, whatever my body needs in the moment, I'm honoring that and doing that. And I've seen that shift. And listening to you and listening to your past, you have shifted so much, and it's so beautiful to like just witness your journey. Like I haven't been there for the longest. I've only been known you since May this year, March this year, but
Much, yeah.
still like listening to you, listening to your story, and looking at the person that you are today, who's so magnetic. It's insane, and you are so powerful. And I would love for my listeners to also have a taste of what you offer and who you are and your energy. And so I'm going to put your Instagram handle in the description of this in the YouTube video and on a Spotify link.
Yeah.
However, could you like tell us more ways that we can work with you one to one or a
Yeah.
membership, what any multiple ways to work with you?
Yeah. I think before I say that, if whoever's listening, I think if I can share just one thing, that how you asked, like, how did I drop back into my feminine energy, and also how did I really integrate that with my masculine energy? I think you can even, like, if you don't understand what feminine energy and masculine energy means, just drop that. The point is, if the more you allow yourself to be present with your body is going to guide you. Even if you don't have the vocabulary for it, you don't have to know it. Like, if you really learn, how you said, if you learn to listen to your body, if you learn to drop back into your body, you will very naturally start unfolding what is your energetics like, what are your desires like, where do you thrive, how much stress do you truly require, how can you integrate, like, just dropping in the body. Like, and how can you do that? If I have to give you just one practice, if you're someone who has never done anything before, doing any activity, like, it's the simplest practice and people would be like, this does not work. But if you make this your lifestyle, just 3 deep breaths before you're eating food, 3 deep breaths before you're going for a shower, before you're going for a walk, before you're going for a podcast, before you're going for a meeting. If you can allow yourself to have 3 intentional present breaths, it would slowly, like, build your muscle memory to know how to drop into your body when the chaos is happening. The reason that I feel it's easier for me to drop into my body now and do like massive practices, it began just with this one little practice of breathing. And yeah, I think that's what I would share with
Yeah.
people.
I love that you shared that because my whole theme for 2025 is to drop into my body and be out of my mind and go into my body more and trust my body more. So that's a technique I'm going to start practicing every day. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and ways to work with me. So I have a membership community which is called the Wild Rising Women. So if you want to, like, just have a taste of my world, if you want to, so we have like 3 calls every month in that. The first one is an intention setting circle. Then we have a rising circle where we do guided meditation together. And the last one is a creativity circle and sharing circle where we dance, we do a lot of somatic practices, and we share with each other, like a little sharing. So a sharing circle is basically we take a theme and everybody shares their life, and we just, say that thank you for sharing. We just give them space to be honest, to be authentic, to be themselves, no matter what their emotions are. So these are like really simple circles that we have in the community. But what that is going to change for you is that it's going to give you multiple tools, a taste of multiple tools, and it will tell you, okay, like, then you can experiment with them and you can know that which tool really works for you. So it's a low ticket offering. It's really affordable. So if you want to just begin, if you've never tried this, like how I told you that, I was just desperate and I was like, I need to try something different. Wild Rising Sisters is the community for you. And if you're already on the journey, what this is going to bring for you is just accountability, is a community where you get on calls 3 times every month. So you can just have like, like, because a lot of times we feel very alone, we feel not so understood with, with the people around us because they are not on the same journeys as we are. So you're just in a community of women who understand you, who know this journey, who appreciate you for growing, for trying. So you just feel felt, seen, heard, and held and supported. So if you've already been on the journey, then you just want a community. This is for you if you just want a community to be seen and heard in all of that you're doing in your self discovery, in your transformation journey. And if you've never done something, this is the best place to start with. And if you're someone who is like extremely, who are on the verge of like, what, I've explored, I have like too much information, because I tell this that there's like extremely enough information on the internet. There's no yeah, I wouldn't say that anything and everything is there. Whatever I teach, whatever any of us teach, it's there. Information is there, but the transformation is in the container.
Mhm.
You, how to use that information and navigate life while you're using that information is where the transformation lies, because just the information is not going to transform your life. It's only the beginning, it's like step one. But transformation happens with aligned action, with navigating life while you're taking those aligned actions, because so much will come up. And sometimes you'll be like, what, I know all the tools but I'm not able to execute them. Sometimes you're going to be like, I know I need to drop in my body, but I don't know how to drop in my body. So what happens, it's a 3 month, like a minimum 3 months or a 6 months one-on-one container with me. It's called feminine expansion containers, where we are just going to be doing a lot of somatic practices and body work together, and a lot of guided meditations, so that I am going to slowly rewire your subconscious and your body memories, so that when you're in the chaos, you can go back and really drop back in your body on your own. Because the more we're going to do it through these 3 months and 6 months together, the more you're going to learn, how to do it for yourself. And just one last question, because I remember you asked me this question recently, that, if I'm not facing a lot of pain or trauma, is this the container for me? I think then it's definitely the container for you, because now you're on the, how I said, healing is about expanding your capacities for joy. So then it's the perfect container for you, because now you're ready to really let your body lead you into levels of success, into levels of love, joy, expansion, and pleasure that you have never really allowed yourself to tap into. Because if you let your body lead you, it's going to guide your mind also to take those actions. Like, if your body has the capacity, then your mind's going to get on board so much more quicker.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Shivangi. And I have invested in her sessions and she's absolutely amazing. So you guys definitely need to try these out with her. Check out her Instagram below. And I'm so honored to have you on my episode. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here. Thank you
you.
for all your golden nuggets.
Yay. I'm so happy, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm like so honored.
Awesome. I'll see you soon. Bye, Shivangi.
Yes, bye.
Well, that was the end of this episode, and it was absolutely amazing. So many golden nuggets from her. And I hope, even if you had just one takeaway, I hope you implement it in your life starting today. Thank you so much for being here. You're listening to Rebel with a Purpose, and I'm Pratna signing off.